There's a part of you that no one ever really met. Not your parents, not your friends, not even you fully. A part of you that learned to stay quiet, to stay small, to survive. This part is still there, beneath all the masks, the achievements, the smiles. It's your inner child. And while the world kept telling you to grow up, to move on, to stop feeling so much, she stayed. She stayed in the shadows, waiting for one thing, to finally be seen. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is the moment you stop letting the past run your present. This is the moment you listen, because healing doesn't start when someone else saves you. It begins the moment you turn inward and say, "I see you, I hear you, and I'm not going to abandon you anymore." Today's message is not just a video. It's a letter your inner child has been waiting a lifetime to receive, and it might just be the most important thing you ever hear. You've carried so much. The weight of silent pain, the ache of never feeling quite enough, the longing for love you didn't have to earn, and yet here you are, still standing, still searching, still hoping that one day something or someone will make it all make sense. But what if that someone is you? Carl Jung taught that healing doesn't happen by escaping who we've been. It happens when we turn inward, when we face what we once abandoned and choose to love it back into wholeness. Somewhere deep within you lives a child. Not just any child, your inner child. The one who was once told to stay quiet, to be good, to stop feeling so much. She's still there waiting for your voice, waiting for a truth that was never spoken. You didn't deserve the pain, you were always worthy of love. Today we begin with that truth, because healing your inner child is the first step toward becoming whole. And if this message resonates with your soul, know that we've placed something special for you in the pinned comment. A powerful healing guide crafted to support you on this exact journey. You'll know when it's the right time. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. We're here every week, 3 times, walking this path beside you. Each video, each word is created with one intention, to help you come home to yourself. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and listen, because what you're about to hear may change everything. You wake up in the morning, and for a moment, everything feels heavy. The anxiety, the pressure, the quiet sadness that you can't always name. It's just there. You tell yourself to push through it, like you always have. But have you ever asked where that heaviness actually comes from? What if I told you it isn't coming from your adult self? What if the real voice behind your fear of rejection, your deep insecurities, your constant people-pleasing and overthinking, belongs to a younger version of you? A version who still lives inside you. A child who wasn't held enough, heard enough, protected enough, and who, despite the years, has never stopped asking for your love. Carl Jung taught that our unconscious, the parts we avoid or suppress, continue to influence our choices, emotions, and relationships, even when we believe we've moved on. Your inner child is one of the most powerful voices in that unconscious, and as long as she remains unacknowledged, she will keep showing up in subtle, painful ways. She appears in the way you flinch when someone raises their voice, in the way you seek validation from people who can't give it, in the way you silence yourself just to feel accepted. You might think you're acting from reason, logic, or maturity, but often you're reacting from old wounds. You're not just managing adult problems. You're carrying the burdens of a child who was never taught how to feel safe. This is why we find ourselves stuck in the same cycles, choosing partners who hurt us, undervaluing ourselves at work, avoiding confrontation out of fear. Because the child within still believes that love must be earned, that safety is conditional, and that their worth depends on being perfect or invisible. But here's the truth. You are not that child anymore. You no longer need to beg for love. You no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. Yet without healing, without consciously reconnecting with the child inside, you will keep living through her pain. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole by integrating all parts of yourself, especially the ones you've repressed. This includes the innocent, hurting child who never got what they needed. Not integrating her means staying fragmented, But embracing her means reclaiming your power and rewriting your future. This is the invitation to pause, to listen, to finally say to yourself, I see you, I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. The child inside you has waited long enough, and the adult you are today is finally strong enough to hold her. Long before we learned how to explain what we feel, we began to absorb the world around us. As children, we didn't need words to internalize meaning. Our nervous systems learned through silence, glances, gestures, absence. And what your inner child learned might not have been love. She might have learned that love is earned, that silence is safer than truth, that being too emotional pushes people away, that asking for help leads to punishment, that worthiness is conditional and always just out of reach. These beliefs weren't born from logic. They were born from survival. Carl Jung understood that the psyche stores everything. Every unspoken message, every denied emotion, every wound that the mind tries to bury. These fragments become what he called the unconscious self, a hidden archive of everything you weren't allowed to feel, express, or become. And buried deep in that archive is your inner child. She's not a metaphor. She's real. And she's still waiting to be rescued from what she was forced to believe about herself. Maybe you were told in words or in silence that you had to be the strong one, the calm one, the invisible one, the parentified child who didn't cry, the golden child who didn't fail, the good girl who didn't get angry, and so you split. You began to construct a version of yourself that was safer for others to love. But every time you silenced your needs, every time you dimmed your light to make someone else comfortable, you left behind a part of your soul. And here's the hard truth. You cannot fully love yourself while hating the parts of you that needed love the most. The anxiety that rises in you when you're criticized. That's not your adult self reacting. That's your inner child remembering the times when criticism came without compassion, and it broke her spirit. The rage that flares when you're dismissed, that's the unheard child finally speaking up. After years of silence, the shame that wraps around you when you try to rest, when you say no, when you express a need, that's the wounded little one who learned that her existence was too much. And so we perform, we excel, we become who the world expects us to be. We hustle for love, for approval, for safety. But something inside still aches, because no matter how hard you try, that child remains, longing to be heard, held, and healed. Carl Jung believed that true wholeness comes not from perfection, but from integration, the courageous act of bringing the disowned parts of ourselves into the light. This includes the child within us who was never told, you matter even when you make mistakes. You are still loved, even when you feel broken. You don't need to be anyone else to be worthy. This healing doesn't happen through willpower. It happens through witnessing, learning how to notice your reactions, not with judgment, but with deep curiosity. When you feel triggered, don't just try to push through. Pause, breathe, ask yourself, what part of me is feeling this? What belief was I taught that's being activated right now? What would I tell a child who feels this way? And then speak those words to yourself, out loud, softly, repeatedly, because your inner child doesn't respond to shame. She responds to kindness, to safety, to consistency. You don't heal her by pretending she doesn't exist. You heal her by making her visible again. Reparenting begins the moment you become the adult she needed. The adult who listens, who doesn't rush her feelings, who doesn't force her to smile when she wants to cry, who doesn't push her to be strong when she needs to fall apart. And when you do this, something sacred begins to shift. You stop reacting from the same place that once needed to survive. You start responding from the place that now knows how to love. Let me be clear. You were never too sensitive. You were never too emotional. You were never too much. You were a child with a heart wide open, asking the world, am I safe here? Am I loved here? Do I matter here? And when the world failed to answer, you learned to stop asking. But today you can answer. You can look in the mirror and say what no one else ever did. Yes, you matter. Yes, you are enough. Yes, I will never abandon you again. That is the power of integration. That is the power of healing the inner child. It's not about going back, it's about going inward. It's about reclaiming every sacred part of you that was once cast aside, because healing doesn't erase your past, it redeems it. And with every word of compassion you speak to yourself, with every time you choose to rest without guilt, with every time you honor your boundaries, you are breaking generational cycles of silence, shame, and self-betrayal. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for the child you were, the child your mother was, the generations that never knew how to break the pattern. So when the world gets loud and your old beliefs begin to whisper again, "You're not enough. You're too much. You'll never change." Pause, breathe, and remember, your healing is not a fantasy. It's a daily choice. And today, you're choosing yourself. There comes a day when you stop trying to be who the world expects you to be, and you finally look in the mirror and whisper, "Enough. Enough of pretending. Enough of performing. Enough of abandoning yourself to be accepted by others." And maybe that day is today. Because somewhere beneath the adult you've become, the responsibilities, the achievements, the pain you hide so well, there is a child who still believes she has to fight for love. A little girl who wakes up every morning with the silent hope, "Will I be seen today?" Carl Jung taught that we spend the first half of our life shaping the ego, building an identity, crafting a version of self that can survive in a world full of demands. But in the second half of life, if we're brave, we begin to unbuild it. We start to realize that survival isn't the same as freedom, and behind the masks we've worn for decades is the original self, untouched by shame, still longing to be whole. Your inner child is not broken. She is not weak. She is the keeper of your soul. She remembers who you were before the world told you who you should be. She remembers the colors that made you feel alive, the things you used to believe were possible, the way your heart opened without hesitation, the dreams that weren't born from fear, but from truth. And maybe the greatest act of healing is not fixing yourself. Maybe it's simply choosing to return to the one who never stopped waiting, to sit quietly with her, to let her speak, to let her cry, to say, "I know now what I didn't know then, and I'm here for you." Because here's the reality we often avoid. The pain we carry today didn't start today. It started when our needs weren't met, when our emotions were invalidated, when we were punished for being vulnerable, when we reached out for love and found absence, when we were too young to understand that it wasn't our fault. And now, even as grown adults, we keep reenacting those same dynamics, at work, in love, in friendships, trying to win the approval that was withheld from us. As children, we choose partners who make us feel unseen, just like our parents did. We seek out perfection because we once believed that being flawless was the only way to earn love. We stay silent because we were taught that our feelings were too much. But this time, we know better. This time we get to write a new script. This is what reparenting truly is. It's not just giving yourself love in theory. It's choosing every single day to treat yourself the way no one did, to slow down when you're exhausted, not push harder, to speak kindly to yourself when you make a mistake, not shame yourself, to honor your needs, even if no one else understands them. To say, you don't need to earn rest, you don't need to prove your worth. That's what the adult you gives the child you. Permission to stop surviving and finally start living. And there's one more truth that's often too painful to admit. Sometimes the person who has hurt your inner child the most is you. The voice that calls you lazy, stupid, dramatic, unlovable, that wasn't yours to begin with. It was absorbed, it was inherited. It was internalized from someone who was also hurt, but now it's your voice, and you have the power to change it, because healing isn't just crying over the past. Healing is taking radical responsibility for how you speak to yourself in the present. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And isn't that what we do? We repeat the same patterns, not because we're broken, but because our inner child is still waiting for a different outcome. Still hoping that maybe this time someone will stay. Maybe this time love won't hurt. Maybe this time they'll see me. But here's the miracle. You don't have to wait for someone else. You are the one she's been waiting for. And when you begin to love her, not conditionally, not after healing, but now, you'll feel something. Sacred unfold inside of you. A reconnection, a return, a remembering. You'll start to notice the triggers don't control you as much. The guilt fades. The urgency to be perfect softens. The panic in your chest dissolves into presence. You'll breathe differently, speak differently, love differently, because now you're not reacting from the pain, you're responding with truth. And let me say this clearly. You are not weak for needing this healing. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not too damaged. You are finally ready. And that's why this work is showing up in your life now, not because something is wrong with you, but because something inside you is waking up. She's ready. Ready to be loved, ready to be held, ready to be chosen by you. So tonight, before you go to bed, try this. Put your hand on your heart and whisper, "I'm sorry I ignored you. I'm sorry I made you feel like you were too much. I'm sorry I believed what they said, but I'm here now and I will never leave you again." And if this message is reaching a part of your soul that no one has touched before, know this. It's not just a video. It's a turning point. It's a sacred reunion with the most important person in your life, you. There comes a moment in this journey, quiet, almost sacred, when something inside you softens. You're no longer fighting to be seen. You're no longer chasing love in places where it was never meant to be found, because you realize what your inner child needed wasn't perfection. It wasn't applause. It wasn't to be fixed. She needed to be loved, exactly as she was. And finally, that love is coming from you. This is where the true healing begins, not in theories or concepts, but in presence, in the way you now speak to yourself, in the way you choose gentleness over shame, in the way you create space for every version of you to exist with dignity. And if you're still wondering how to love her, how to truly walk this path without losing yourself again, don't worry. You're not walking it alone. This channel was created as a sacred space for people like you, people who are ready to come home to themselves. And because so many of you asked, we've placed something special in the comments. A guide, written, for the exact part of you that's tired of performing and ready to begin truly healing. You'll find it in the top comment, waiting for you when you're ready. And when you are, you'll feel the shift. You'll stop seeking permission to rest, to feel, to say no, to be enough without explanation. And for the first time, your life won't just look good on the outside. It will feel whole on the inside. Remember, healing isn't about changing who you are. It's about remembering who you were before. The world told you to be someone else. Before you learned to smile through pain, before you shrank your light to fit into small spaces, before you abandoned yourself to earn love that should have been unconditional. But now you know better. And because you know better, you can love better. Not just others, yourself. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are not beyond healing. You are unfolding, beautifully, painfully, bravely, into the person you were, always meant to be. Every time you say, "I love you" to the child inside, every time you say, "I'm here," every time you stop running and choose to feel, you reclaim a piece of your soul. And little by little, those pieces begin to glow. So tonight, when the world goes quiet, close your eyes, feel her there, your inner child, and whisper the words she's waited a lifetime to hear. You are safe now. You don't have to fight anymore. I choose you. Every day I choose you. If this message spoke to your soul, I invite you to subscribe and stay close. We share reflections like this every week, gentle, real, human, designed to help you heal and return to yourself. And if you're ready to go deeper again, just check the comments. The path has already begun. You're not alone anymore. You never were.